Mechanics say that if you were to flush the transmission fluid on a high mileage transmission with dark fluid and shifting concerns, that it would destroy it. And the vehicle I have here today has just that. Just look at that fluid. It is dark. And stinky. And today I'm gonna be testing that theory to see if they are actually right by risking my own transmission with new fluid, filter, and a flush. Let's see what happens. The thought process is by flushing new transmission fluid into the transmission, you actually dislodge some of the debris that's caused from all that old dirty fluid. And to further that thought, this fluid can actually pull away some of the friction material on the friction disc, as well as loosen things up in the valve body, causing the transmission to do really weird things like slipping or harsh shifting. Now, this is a 2009 Subaru Forester with 178,263 miles on it. And now not only does this vehicle have dark, worn out fluid and smells weird, this thing also has some harsh shifting issues and some shuddering going on the upshift and the downshift, but I really noticed second and third gear shuddering once it shifts into that gear. Take a look. Every time it shifts through the gears, it almost gives it like a little bit of a rumble feeling, a little bit of a hesitation, if you will, and it's kind of just like a shudder. Right now, shuddering. Second gear, hard shift into third. All right, let me spin around once more. I'll see if I can get it to really act up, because sometimes it'll really sit there and shudder. Let's try it once more here. All right, so we're at a complete stop, hitting the gas. Second gear shudder. Oh, it just did a quick shudder right there. And it only did it in second gear there, so let's do it one more time and see if we can duplicate this thing. And then we'll get back to the shop and get working on this thing. All right, so coming to a dead stop here. All right, a dead stop, 3, 2, 1. Usually it's in second gear. Right there, shuddering right now, currently shuddering. Third gear is shuddering. I came out of it. And then an overdrive. Everything feels fine there. So it's really only second and third gear that I'm noticing that. So let's see what this fluid really looks like when we get it out of the car. Now, not only am I going to be replacing the transmission filter and the fluid, but we're also going to be using a transmission flush machine. Now, I did ask the wacky world of the internet, and a lot of them tend to agree that you shouldn't be flushing your transmission, stating don't flush, just do a drain and refill. Because it's high mileage and has never been serviced, a power flush can dislodge debris and sludge and cause problems. If you do it and the transmission fails, it was already on its way out. I would just get it done. If it works, great. If not, you have time to do a transmission overhaul. Go ahead and do a drain and fill on the transmission. Do not flush. It can do irreparable harm to your transmission. Wouldn't worry about it now. The damage is already done. Just let it ride at this point. And even some people chiming in to say don't do a flush at all. It is bad to flush any transmission. Just drain and refill them. Now that is the response of the world's internet, but let's actually call some professional shops and get their opinion on this subject. Hey, how's it going today?
Going good. What can I help you with?
Well, I'm looking to see if you could give me some advice here. I got a 2009 Subaru Forester, and the transmission's having some shifting issues, like harsh shifting and shuddering when it's shifting into second and third gear.
Okay.
The fluid is black. I had another place look at it, and I was seeing if they could flush it, and they were strongly advising against flushing it because they think it's just going to introduce harm to it. Is that something you run into, or?
Yeah, usually when the damage has already occurred and we have a shiftability problem and the fluid is, discolored, varnished, or burnt, fresh fluid won't fix anything at that point. As much as I hate to say it, the damage has already occurred. Generally, it makes the issue even more pronounced. You'd hate to see somebody spend $200-300 to get no resolve for you. Not to wreck your Monday, but yeah, no, that's one of the few shops that was being honest, because everyone else is like, well, we can try it, knowing darn well that you're like, wow.
Right, so you spend the money on the fluid and it didn't do anything. Well, cool. I appreciate your time and your help, and yeah, I'll get back to you and let you know what I come up with here.
Okay, cool. Sounds good.
All right, have a good one. Thanks, man. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
It doesn't get much more professional than that. That guy was pretty much spot on. Very polite to deal with. What a good shop that was. Now let's just call another one just to see if they are conflicting or if they're kind of on the same page here. Hey there, I got a question for you. Maybe you could help me on this. I got a 2009 Subaru Forester with transmission concerns. The fluid is pretty black in the thing, and it's doing some harsh shifting and shuddering when it shifts from like second to third. I had another place look at it. I asked them if they could flush it, and they were advising me against doing that, just because they thought it might introduce more problems. Does that sound like something you've heard before, or is that...
We flush lots of transmissions all the time.
Okay.
Because usually if there's a problem, it already exists.
And I don't think the thing has ever been flushed, I guess. And so I was kind of just...
What year is it?
A 2009.
Which model Subaru?
Forester.
How many miles do you have on it?
Like 178,000 or something. Quite a bit.
Oh, it's way overdue. Should be done about every 50 to 60.
Well, is that something that you would recommend maybe doing a flush on, or what are your thoughts?
You better. We could have, if you can drop it off sometime and leave it with us. I mean, we're not out to waste your money, so at least if he drives it, you'd have an idea if that's a good starting point or not. But either way, typically flushing's a good starting point on them.
Okay,
Been that long, sometimes it takes a double flush. I've got a 2010 GMC, and mine wasn't even that long, but I did have to flush it twice, so I had to pay for the fluid twice.
all right, thanks, man. Have a good day.
You bet. Take care.
Bye. Well, there you have it. A little bit of confliction there. So that only leaves one thing from here on out. Let's do the service and see what happens. All right, so let's start by removing the fluid and the filter from this pan. Thankfully, they have a drain on this one, so we're gonna drain the fluid out first, and then we'll pull this pan down, get the filter out, and let's just see what it looks like inside of everything. Yep, it's stinky. So let's get the filter out, get this stuff kind of cleaned up a little bit. We'll look at the pan and the fluid that I captured, and then we'll just take a peek up in the valve body and see if we can notice anything that's like not supposed to be there. All right, so first up, this is the condition of the fluid. You can see this is pretty dark. Doesn't look very good at all. It smells pretty bad. And you can see the magnet actually does have quite a bit of buildup on it. So that's not a good sign. However, this thing does have 178,000 miles on it and has never been cleaned. And now another good thing to note is there's some really metallic debris at the bottom of the pan right here as well. It almost looks like a copper anti-seize, and hopefully the camera is picking that up. Look at that, look how sparkly that is right there. So that's on all the bottom of the pan. So that's never a good sign to see. Probably normal wear for this many miles. Now going back to the theory on this is some of this stuff can wash away, and that's actually been in place kind of holding some of this friction material together, things in the valve body together. And once you wash that stuff away, well, the tolerance gets bigger, and then you run into way more issues with slippage and harsh shifting and things of that nature. So this will be the telltale test if this actually helps fix some of the shifting problems or makes it worse, or if it just leaves it alone altogether. But we're about to find out. Now let's zip this filter out of here. You can see it's just like a mesh screen filter, right? So you can see there's a ton of debris and particles actually up in this filter right here. There's some debris there. And then if you look in this side of the filter too, there's a lot of debris in here as well, kind of washing around. Obviously, I don't think there's enough to plug anything up in here, but this is a problem, and it shouldn't be looking like this. You can see this anti-seize looking copperish, sparkly-ish stuff on the back side of this filter too. Yeah, you don't want to see that either. So I'm going to get this pan cleaned up quick, and before we put on this new filter, let's inspect the valve body. All right, now with the filter out of the way, I did clean some of this stuff up, but all the solenoids and all the wiring, all that stuff looks really good. Ball bearing right there, you can see that all looks pretty good up in there. So overall, this thing actually looks pretty good. I'm not seeing any of that metallic stuff that I saw on the bottom of the pan up on the valve body, so hopefully it's doing its job on keeping that not circulated through the transmission and just letting that stuff sit and settle in the pan. So now we're gonna get this new filter put back on, back up in the transmission here, and then we'll get the oil pan back on it, fill it up with fluid, and then we're gonna use the flush machine. All right, so the filter and the pan is on. I do have the lines now hooked up into the cooler system for the transmission service, but I'm actually gonna put a few quarts in the oil pan before I start because that's bone dry right now. So I'm gonna put 2 quarts in there because that's pretty much what I got out. And then we will run the flush machine. We'll see how this thing goes, and then we'll take it for a test drive. Now I'm using the Max Life Multi-Vehicle ATF for this vehicle. It is compatible with Subaru's transmission. So I'm just gonna put 2 quarts in here, and then we're gonna flush about 10 quarts through the entire system. And that should give us some nice clean fluid afterwards out of the torque converter, kind of clear some of that stuff out. And then hopefully we can remedy stuff and not destroy this transmission, because I do not want to spend $4,000 on a reman transmission for this thing. Now this is the gambling part that all the mechanics talk about. We're going to be using the flush machine that's all filled up with fluid now. We got to start the vehicle and it will cycle this new fluid and replace the old fluid. And again, according to the internet, shortly after this, it should be catastrophic. But again, you also heard from the mouth of the pros that some recommend don't doing it, and some clearly recommend trying it. So let's fire this thing up and see what the flush does to it. All right, you can see we're making progress and it's pumping the new fluid into it. This is the old fluid coming out. This is the new fluid going in. And just like that, it's finished. All right, so the flush is now completed. We get the lines back on, the car is down, and we are ready to drive it. I just wanna make sure we have enough fluid in here. I don't have it running yet, but I kinda wanna see the condition of the fluid. And look at that. Nice and red now. Perfect. So that's what you want, right? And it didn't look like that before, and now it just smells like transmission fluid. So I'm just gonna verify your level quick, but let's go take this thing for a spin and see if we just destroyed the transmission by flushing it. Wish me luck. All right, so we are back in my little test spot here. Now on the way over to this location, it's not too far away, but I did notice a couple little shudders, but it did come out of it pretty quick. So let's just do an acceleration. We're gonna do a couple of runs here, and then we're gonna get some more miles on it, and we'll see if that changes anything. So let's see how it goes from a dead dig here. Let's try to get it to shift into second and third and see if we are slipping now, or if it's still shuddering, or if it's coming out of it. So here we go. Second. No shudder. Third. No shudder. And overdrive. Actually, Al, that really felt good. No harsh upshift or anything. Well, that actually felt pretty good. I didn't really notice any shuddering or anything like that. Let me get on a little harder acceleration here, because that's when I really noticed some harsh upshifts. So let's do moderate throttle. Here we go. And we're on snow, so that's not good, but here we go. Shifted great. That wasn't harsh at all. I'm gonna go a pretty hard acceleration here. Let's go. Wow, didn't harsh shift at all. Wow. Now that was the smoothest pull yet, so I'm gonna go put some more miles on this thing. We'll cycle this fluid through and see what it does. Let's see if it starts to make it slip, or if the harsh shift goes away, if it gets better. Time will tell. Let's see what happens. All right, so currently we're at highway speeds and everything is feeling great. There's no torque converter shudder, no shuddering to get up here, no harsh shifting to get up here. And I got a little over 60 miles on right now, and it is all feeling excellent. So fingers crossed it keeps staying this way, but I think we are in a good direction right now with where we're at by flushing this fluid. All right, so I got a little bit over 130 miles on this thing so far. I've done some stop and go traffic, interstate driving, you name it, and everything is actually shifting really smooth. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna head back to the shop. We'll recap this thing, we'll take another look at the fluid, and kind of just talk about how this all went so far. And we are back. So we are at 137.6 miles of drive time on this car now. We did stop and go driving, we did highway driving, we did some hill climbs, and we even did some harsh acceleration and harsh shifting trials, and all that stuff seems to be going very well. Now, I'm not noticing any more of the 1-2 to the 2-3 shuddering, and I'm really not noticing any more harsh shifting. Now, the number one biggest thing that people suggested by flushing a transmission was due to slippage. Now, you would think that in 130 miles that there should be at least some slippage or something that would happen, and I'm not noticing anything like that. Let's take a peek at the fluid and see what the condition of the fluid looks like, if it's still that bright red or if it's washed some of the other debris through that, and we can kind of take a look from the dipstick here. Well, it doesn't smell like that burnt smell anymore. However, you can see from the stick that the fluid is getting dark pretty quickly here. I just dabbed some of the dipstick fluid right here on the top of this interstate sticker, and you can see it's not that bright red anymore. It is still kind of brown. And now I would say that's to be expected just due to the fact this fluid has never been flushed or serviced ever in its entire existence. And after 178,000 miles, sometimes you just don't get everything out. And I only flushed 12 quarts of fluid through it so far. Overall, in the case of this vehicle, only this one in particular so far, has it improved the shift quality? I'm going to say yes, it actually has improved the shift quality. So far, it's only shown signs of improvement by putting that new fluid and that new filter in its place. And of course, time will tell. This thing is high mileage, so anything is probable at this point. However, it didn't do any signs of slipping or anything of that nature before we did the flush. I'm going to continue driving this thing for quite a while to see if I can provide an update, and if we have any slippage or anything like that, or if the transmission just quits working completely, then we can kind of relive this story and see if it actually is debunked or not, because right now it's actually improved it. So as much as I want to say it is debunked, you can flush high mileage transmissions without having issues. You never know. In the case of transmissions completely slipping through gears or having no engagement at all, well, the damage is done. I can actually agree with every single person out there that says do not flush it at that point, because yes, you would be throwing away your money at new fluid to go in a transmission that's already bad and needs to have replacement parts put in it. However, if your vehicle was experiencing things like this one was, right? Shuddering, harsh shifting, harsh downshifting, delayed shifting, things of that nature, then yes, I think that if you were able to replace that fluid and a filter, you might actually increase the longevity of your transmission and potentially keep it going for a lot longer than if you were just to leave the fluid and the filter alone. This was a fun test to try. It was a little bit of a high stakes gamble on my end, but I was willing to try it to see if this thing would do anything. But again, time will tell. We will see what happens in the future with this Subaru. So stay tuned for some upcoming videos, and I got a lot of other stuff planned this year down the road. And again, thank you all for watching. We'll see you in the next one.